How's everyone doing tonight? We've got something for you. Um, for the audio only folks, it's definitely gonna put you to sleep if that's your goal. For the people who are watching on a camera on YouTube, we have a very colorful comic book. It's a little bit old at this point. It's Marvel Shield Steranko, the complete collection. It's 340 something pages. It collects 22 issues. Um and we're going to flip through it and make a few comments along the way. So, let's just talk for a second. Jim Steranko, that's the artist. Um Born 1938. He worked for Marvel. He did Shields. He also did Strange Tales, and he was considered a Silver Age comic book artist. He was inducted into the Comic Book Hall of Fame in 2006. This is Steranko. He's known for obviously Shield, but also some crazy stuff. Like if you go, he's abstract, I guess you would call it. If we kind of look at some of his images, his comic book pages, they're high contrast and they're high concept. Whether it's like, okay, so here's an example of high contrast, here's an example of abstract, and the high concept comes into play. Well, here's another abstract with contrast. It would be great if we also had the concept. One of the things, quotes that he's famous for is in the comic book medium, he could do $1 million set with just a pencil. So, S.H.I.E.L.D. in the movies you might have seen, they have these like giant flying, city bases and these really fancy headquarters and stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff that you can draw very easily in a comic book. You can obviously do it if you're, if you're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've also got the ability to do that. But not every like regular person has the ability to do that. Not regular person. Not every movie has the ability to do that. Marvel movies have the ability to do that. So we're going to take a look at this book today. I'll comment on it. So if you're watching, you can actually see the images for yourself. If you're listening, I'm not going to describe it in detail. I'm not going to talk about the story. I'm just going to sort of give my, feedback as we go along. So this is the complete collection. It's all the It's not the complete collection of Steranko, and it's not the complete collection of Shield. It's the complete collection of the Shield issues that Steranko drew. I think he also wrote some of them. So let's take a look. We might skip a few pages. As I said, we're definitely not going to talk about the story, but we're just going to look. So right on, before we even get started, looks like the cover, they eventually went with this, sort of story cover, but it looks like at one point they were, showing some of Jim's abstract stuff, which he was definitely known for. And there's a good example of the shadow and the contrast. I mean, that stuff was big in comics back in this day. And Jim was definitely a master at it. The coloring back then was very flat. The sound effects, and in fact, all of the lettering was drawn by hand. They don't do that anymore. I can't really explain why they don't do that anymore. I think people liked it, but they don't do it. I do it. I mean, if you've seen my comics, Electromagnet and Vin Duty, They're lettered by me. Electromagnet is lettered by me, but it's drawn by someone else and colored by someone else. Vin Duty, it's all me, and I do the lettering, custom for each panel. I don't see any reason. I shouldn't say that. I do the sound effects custom for each panel, not the regular lettering. The regular lettering, I use comic fonts. I don't remember off the top of the head the one that I use, and also it changes from comic to comic. So there's also the eye patch on Nick Fury. He's the main character. It's called S.H.I.E.L.D, but this guy with the eye patch, it's Nick Fury. You've seen him in the movies. Samuel L. Jackson portrays him. I think it's no one. You might have heard of Comic Gate, where people say, like, why did you make Thor transgender, or why did you make Superman gay, or something like that. Nobody's ever complained about Sam Jackson as Nick Fury. Everyone's said, like, oh, okay, yeah, Sam Jackson, Nick Fury, absolutely. There's no one so concerned with identity that they would object to Sam Jackson playing Nick Fury. He's obviously done amazing in that role. All right. What do you think about that art right there? It says crack. That's the lettering. The guy, or robot, whatever you want to call him, he's got that shiny look, but he's also got a lot of spikes on him. There's something here. It's not exactly the Kirby crackle, but it's some sort of crackle. It got spiral lines. I mean, this is there's more pages that are more Steranko. For example, this panel is small, but I mean, look at the effects there. Look at the cut of the scene that cuts the symbol. I mean, Steranko was very thoughtful. These pages were not slapped together. I mean, there's some people, you look at their art and it's like obvious that they're just like following the script and like word for word and trying to put in what the author said. I don't think that's what you're going to get from Steranko. I think he's going to give you what he comes up with. It's like, if he wants this proportion, I mean, look at this, how she walks down there. If he wants this background, if he wants this foreground, that's what you're going to get. That's actually, those could be in script, background, foreground, proportion and things like that. These are more examples over here, these two panels. That's more what you get from Jim. There's no way that someone said, make this guy a skeleton, make these circles radial, offset the thickness of them, have this guy contrasting not concentric, but I forget the word, but not spiral. Radial? Is radial a term? I think it's radial. Anyway, there's no way that the script said that. And there's no way it said to make it these two panels, black and white base, but then put in the blue afterward. This is Steranko taking license. But the action is still there. The rules, which, they don't follow those rules as much as they did for the visual language of comics as they did back then. It was more serious back then. Comic books now, I don't know, man. What do you think about the state of comic books these days? I mean, we talked about the Comics Gate thing. They seem like they're always trying to make some kind of point, which I don't know how people feel about that, but it's beyond even just trying to make a point. The art just doesn't look as well thought out. I mean, look what's going on here. it's not just the poses. It's not just the shading and the texture. It's not just the concept. It's not just the lettering. It's not just the symbolism. It's not just the expressive. It's everything. It's everything. Do you see comics like these days? Okay, now granted, even back then, most people weren't Steranko, but a lot of people were like 10% Steranko. Nowadays, I mean, who is? Who's doing any of this stuff? You know who's doing it? Oddly enough, who's doing it is the people who aren't actually working in comics. Like someone does like a TV show or a movie or a special, and someone in that does a comic book for a few pages, and that will be the one. That will be the place where they'll do this stuff. I mean, look at this. This city, this like ship, this water, this fight, this lettering. Again, the symbolism and the subliminal, I should say. What's the word I'm looking for here? It's something more. Abstract is the category, but it's like, how do you convey? It's like he's conveying information on like 10 different levels at once. And when someone jokes around and makes a comic book in some other piece of art, they often will do that sort of stuff. But when someone actually makes a comic book, they don't. The rules of comic book making, and this is what the big time editors expect, they've changed so much that the medium doesn't attract artists anymore. You're not going to get anyone who's like, look at this page. Someone who wants to do this page is going to do it on their DeviantArt page, or nowadays maybe it's their Instagram page. Nobody's doing this. Here's some more Kirby Crackle, but it's like pushed together to create almost a cloud formation. Anyway, nobody's doing this when they're working for a big publisher in comics. They've probably either seen other comics of the day and they're following the flow, or they would do this stuff on their own, but they're not going to do it submit it to the publisher because they know the editor, or they're not going to submit it to the editor because they know he's going to send back comments and say the writer didn't say to put this multi-layered black and white dream sequence with a hand and a skeleton. They're going to say that's not in the script, or they're going to say that's not fitting of this character, or that's not, you don't have the license to do that, stay in your lane. That didn't exist like what like YouTube is nowadays, or even stuff like SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, I know that's a strange example, but when you watch SpongeBob, there seems to be some freedom. When you watch YouTube, wannabe comedians mix up SpongeBob SpongeBob cartoons into their own little comedy videos and YouTube poops and things like that. They're coming out much more creative, much freer than what you're seeing in the comic book shops these days. This page you might see in the comic book shop. This is pretty contained. This is pretty tame. In fact, both of these pages are. Let's see about this issue, because suddenly, this is a perfect example. Like, see, like 4 panels to tell that action. The framing on this one and this one. This kind of looks, this suddenly we're seeing an ordinary looking one. Okay, that didn't last long. Actually, yeah, this issue is definitely less abstract. Oh, no, it's creeping back in. But I was gonna say it's less abstract than like the previous 100 pages we flipped through, and that could be, but obviously it didn't last. It's getting, conceptual again. Okay, yeah, we're totally off the deep end now. But it definitely could happen that Steranko got comments too. I'm sure there were times. So Doctor Strange, it's almost like before he wrote this issue, he got the comment, you've got to stay on point, tell the story, and then in the last 3-4 pages, if you want to do some high concept stuff, go for it. It's almost like he had those notes before that issue. Let's see what happens in the next issue. Strange Tales, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D, Doctor Strange. So, some kind of crossover event, or Doctor Strange is just going to show up in this issue. All right, let's see how it looks. Well, actually, these first few panels don't even look like Steranko art, are they? Featuring the great Captain America. So, we've got Nick Fury, Doctor Strange, and Captain America all in this issue. What issue is this? I guess it's just Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. But it's also somehow Strange Tales and Doctor Strange, and it's featuring Captain America. There's definitely something different about this issue, and it's kind of looking different. The character's legs are suddenly skinnier. Okay, this definitely looks like a Steranko page, except that this is not wild abstraction. This is the guy's apartment. He just happens to have a crazy ceiling, crazy lighting, crazy staircase, crazy artwork. I need to study some vocabulary because someone only listening to this will not know if I just say crazy 10 times in a row. I should say, all right, let me try to describe that panel again. Let's get a do-over. So abstract art, 3-foot diameter crystal globe lights, a tight spiral staircase with 3 winds, a faux exposed beam ceiling, leopard print couch, round coffee table with spaceship cockpit chairs and a vase in the middle that looks like a spaceship, staircase at the back end with some bronze art of naked fighting people, and then a floor to ceiling view of the city through the window. Yeah, that was a much better description than just saying crazy 10 times. Okay, I have to remember for the people listening only to use different words, more descriptive words. Must do it. All right. Well, so Doctor Strange again. If this Strange Tales, Doctor Strange, if this planet you would save. I'm not reading it wrong. That's how it's written. If this planet you would save. Is that how Doctor Strange talks in the comics? I've read a few issues, but I didn't notice that. Blackout. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Supreme Headquarters, International Espionage, Law Enforcement Division, and Captain America. So there's some sort of arc here. They've got Captain America and Doctor Strange showing up 2 issues in a row. And I'll just point out, they're drawing Nick Fury like bigger and stronger than Captain America. That's another change from the movie. I know that Nick Fury does some stuff in the comics, but he also does a lot of like sort of office work, making phone calls, having the computer projections, telling people what to do. It's a little different. The Nick Fury in this comic book versus Nick Fury in portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson is a little different. Although Okay, so this is Nick Fury. This is the enemy. Why does the enemy kind of look a little like Sam Jackson? Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but kind of looked that way to me. And Captain America for the third issue in a row. Doctor Strange for the third issue in a row. It seems like this is actually Doctor Strange. I think the fact that it says Strange Tales up here and then Doctor Strange here at the top, it seems like both Nick Fury and Captain America are guests in this one. Let me see if we can figure that out. All right, page 141. All right, if we look here, page 139, Strange Tales. Okay, these are actually all Strange Tales. It's only the last 4 issues that are Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So they were all Strange Tales, but did they all feature Doctor Strange? Why were they all Strange Tales? All right, let's start paying attention to that. Are these really all just like Doctor Strange issues or Strange Tales? Did Strange Tales include not just Doctor Strange, but like other stuff? Let's see. Wow. Some intricate shading in this. The boots with the shine down the middle. The back with the muscles. The spaceship with all of the detail. Or some of it is kind of like faux detail. It's like, I mean, this is really just a bunch of triangles. This is like a bunch of rectangles. But when you put it on something that has the basic structure of a spaceship, it suddenly looks like more important. Like your mind tries to fill out and figure out what that stuff is. Wakum. Good sound effects. Very good sound effects. Alright. There's Nick Fury, Captain America. Captain America is... What gun is he holding? Does he use a gun much in the movies? I don't think he does, those recent movies. But I guess in the book, you're more likely to see it. Yeah, I don't think it's really the concepts and the abstract and the thought. I don't think like the faces aren't amazing. They're good, but they're not amazing. The expressions aren't amazing. I don't think people are studying Jim Steranko to learn how to draw figures like him. I think they're studying Jim Steranko to see, like on this page, how to set up not just a shot, but a background and a whole like building, like what we've got here. You've got the balcony, you've got the round ceiling with some texture on it. You've got circular computer cubicles at different levels around this structure in the middle that, I don't know, I mean, I want to call it nuclear without stopping to read the story. I don't really know what that is. It just looks like really big and powerful, but then there's also like people at the bottom, and those people aren't driving it because their arms are just at their sides. They're more like, I don't know, I would think being hypnotized by it, but who needs a machine 3 stories tall and weighing 50,000 pounds to hypnotize 3 people? So clearly I'm lost on what's going on that page. There's something going on there. Just give you another look at that previous page. All right. Some more action. This guy's logo looks a little bit... Oh, that's different. Yeah, I guess the guy had a logo that looked like Aquaman, but Aquaman is DC, and this is Marvel. But then when we turn the next page, Nick Fury is fighting an octopus. Like the very next page. Actually, at the top of that page is the character with the trident. So that's probably related. All right. Strange Tales. Doctor Strange and the Dragon. Yep. Octopus is still there. He's carried over. He showed up at the end of the previous issue, and he's still here in this issue. Some very high-tech guns. What is this one shooting? It's a fat cylinder, and then inside of the cylinder, you see, how many would you say that is? Let's say 24 circles inside. Are they like all gonna combine and create one blast, or are they gonna shoot individually? Because I've seen both. I've seen things that shoot like individual rockets out of all the holes, and I've seen energy or plasma type things that super combine and shoot something. A dragon silhouette. Wow. Okay, that's a nice drawing. It's only 2 colors, white and black. Is this the dragon's eyes? It's extremely textured. And it's all contrast. And the eyes have like quite the menacing look. No, I don't think it's the dragon. Because it's like the eyes are closer together. They're like a human. But the texture is not human. I could just read the story and figure out whose eyes those are. But anyway, for now I'll just marvel at them. They're something. They look like something. I don't know what. And then look underneath those pictures of Nick Fury in off-white, then yellow, then orange, then dark, bright orange, then red, then black and white. He's getting more and more beat up in each one. He's like falling off the page in the last one. That looks almost like an Andy Warhol thing, but better. Like Andy Warhol would do those like multi-cells. But he would often just repeat the pictures or reverse the colors. This one has something happening in it. But, you know, I'm sure then some real hoity-toity artist will be like, well, why is anything happening? It would be better if it didn't. You're leading the audience too much. You know, modern art is crazy. They're like a guy duct tapes a banana to a wall, and he gets like 50 million for that. Whereas you can like spend years creating the Mona Lisa and nobody's going to care. It's just not. We currently don't live in that age. It's like you drew the Mona Lisa, that was too much information. Now the audience has nothing left to ponder. But the thing is, if you just duct tape a banana to a wall, 99% of people are just going to walk by like, oh, that's stupid. And they're not going to spend any thought. I guess you have to play to your audience, whether it's the visual arts or you're speaking. You have to know who's the receiver of that information, and you have to match the information to them. All right, we've turned on to so this is good. This is a Silver Age comic, and we've turned on to a very silver page. I've got a silver mech, a silver car, a silver some sort of suit, and then we've got the garage here. So he's putting on his silver suit, getting in his silver car, peeling out of his garage to go fight this silver robot. It's a very silver page. Drawn in the Silver Age of comics. Yeah. Simple, but very done well car. I think nowadays people, when they do this car, they'll use an actual 3D model for starters, and they'll extract all the line art. Maybe they'll do the shading themselves, but because the 3D model will produce such detailed lines, they won't have the license to shade the way this is. It's almost like when you're drawing comics, you start with the gesture, which is like you do some strong gesture, like the guy's going to lean back and kick his foot up high, and that's the gesture, and you'll just draw the guy like bent back with his leg up, and that's like you want to hit that gesture, and then you're going to next draw the thing. But now that's sort of like what you're supposed to do. But some people will like take the character model, try to pose it, try to get it look like action, but they lost the gesture. Because the gesture is just this curved line and this hook line or whatever. And then whether the character model, whether you're going to do it realistic or not, it's got to hit that gesture. And that's the same thing with this. I'm bringing this all up just to say this car. There's something about this shading that speaks something about this car. And if you extract 100%, 3D model line art, like from the manufacturer, you're not going to be able to do the shading in this expressive way because you've got too much detail and it's going to get broken up. You have to sometimes remove the detail to make the expression. And that was something that came naturally in this like Silver Age of comics because they didn't have any of those models to work with. And it's tough to do. I mean, because I'm making comics myself lately, and I think I'm often I'm making them too accurate because it's too easy these days to make them accurate. But if they're accurate but boring, nobody wants to read them. They have to be exciting and expressive first. And I almost think you should just forget about accuracy. Like, almost like just intentionally make them bad. It takes courage to do that, but you have to realize that you're telling a story, not creating a model for someone else to judge and give it an A, B, C, or D. You're trying to tell an overall story, and you've got to give up on the idea of creating perfect art is not the word, perfect models and renders. Because the bad models and renders could be the perfect art. Because they're different things. Wow. I forgot about how annoying some of these titles were in this age of comic book. It was a different age. It was a different time. So this one is like, If Death Be My Destiny. And that's kind of a sales technique. Like, people think, Nick Fury's going to die in this episode. We have to catch it. When really, this is just a disturbing thing to write, and I guarantee you he's not going to die in this episode. By the way, nice squirrel suit. I didn't realize those even existed back then. Editor Stan Lee. Artist, writer Jim Steranko. Oh, so there may not even be a script. I mean, if you've got the writer and artist are the same person, and Stan Lee is the editor, it's entirely possible that there is no script for this comic. Sort of the Marvel way, like, talk to the guy over the phone for 5 minutes about what the basic idea of the story is, then draw it, and then come back and put in the word bubbles and figure out what you're talking about. So this is obviously something from a template or a computer. It looks like, I don't know, a tractor beam or something, but it's like very geometric. It's almost dizzying to look at. It's all these like S curves, and then it's pulling something up, and then the something is only an outline. Like, all you see is the tractor beam, but it distorts through the character model. That's like maybe the one cool thing. And I don't know if that's even required any art. That may just be you layer these two things and some things are going to overlap and look like that. You may not have to have drawn any of that. So that was just layers, just a good use of layers. All right, now we've got some frames here. No, I mean, obviously we do have comic book frames, but we've also got, you know what this kind of looks like? One of those puzzles where you like use your pen and you have to find the exit. Well, if I found the exit, by the way, that's exactly what it is, because it's got an entrance here and an exit here. So, and then underneath that, they've got Nick Fury walking through hallway. What is that one on the internet where it's like those back rooms or whatever, and they're like those yellow walls, and the people walk through them forever? I think so. It's what they're trying to say here, because they are showing that maze that you play by drawing your pen through it as like an framing device. But then in the comic cells, they've got Nick Fury walking through hallways. So it's a maze of hallways. I mean, that's what we're to infer from looking at that, right? All right, now we've got black and white, colors reversed, Kirby Crackle behind it, and I would guess that this is a teleporter. Because the character is standing with like something like a cylinder below him and something like an umbrella above him. The tie is in motion. The colors are reversed. It's a black and white silhouette, but it's more like a white and black. And we've got Kirby Crackle all around him. That to me says teleporter. I wonder if that's accurate. Okay, reading the text here. Then in a helix of searing light, the inert form of daring FBI agent appears in a fantastic matter warp apparatus. Yes, that's a teleporter. Or as they called it, a matter warp apparatus. It's like the beam, like Beam Me Up, Scotty from Star Wars. Right. Strange Tales, Nick Fury, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. The S.H.I.E.L.D. is written on side of the badge, which is kind of weird. He's got a badge that's like Nick Fury, agent of, and then the S.H.I.E.L.D. is written in big letters as a logo on the comic. There we go. There's some Steranko. So we have a tower in the back that looks like it's falling. There's a ramp on the front of it with people on the ramp. It's, you know, I think it's not falling. I think it's cutting through the ground because there's all these like pyramids on the thing, and the pattern of the rocks flying through the air looks like this thing just burst up from the ground. And then you've got people fighting all on the rim. There's some magnetic train or some type of system, or yeah, I mean, this line here might just be an action line, but if you look, it really looks like it's a magnetic like transport device, because if that's just an action line, then what are these things hanging down? There's like a car that almost looks like a speeder from Star Wars, but with a glass cover, and then it has these things wrapping down over the action lines, which I'm going to say are not action lines, but a magnetic acceleration track. I don't know. Oh, this page is total abstract. This guy's just interference pattern. And then behind him, it matches the what did I refer to that? The tractor beam. So this guy is an interference pattern, and he's being trailed by a tractor beam. I don't know if he's like warping, but through some type of like time and space. I don't know what's going on there. That's some crazy looking action going on there. A lot of black and white as well. It's actually pretty good close-up of Nick Fury in terms of the line art. But then there's something overlaid on it. This looks like the Van Allen radiation belt. Like, I'm not sure that that's what he's going for. I'm going to read it again just to see if he's using that for art or if it's actually a page about radiation. And in an instant later, the S.H.I.E.L.D. ramrod activates the fantastic device, risking his life in a 1,000,000 to 1 chance. He can lock in on the yellow claw's cosmic trajectory. Suddenly, the spellbinding undercurrent of infinity pulls him beyond the black tide of space between life and death, between time and eternity, between heaven and hell, an astounding mission of galactic revenge where only one can survive. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that's a radiation belt around a planet. Maybe it's Earth. It looks like the Van Allen radiation rings. And then we've got multiple stars, which Earth wouldn't have multiple stars. We've got planets all lined up. Yeah, I think it's conceptual more than literal. But I do think it's meant to be a radiation belt. I don't think it's like anything more complex than that. I think it is what it looks like. Although, obviously, there is a lot of abstract here. There's no way that this, like, checkerboard, spiral, radial, concentric, eyeball in the middle, it's like overlaid with like 5 different designs here. And then in the middle, there's a little scene of 2 people running. I mean, that's meant to tell you something like emotionally, not literally. I'm going to start moving a little faster. Wow. As soon as I say that, we get this really good single page here. So he's in the chair looking down at some paperwork. The lights behind him look like golf clubs. Today, Earth Died is the title, and it's showing like a nuclear blast over the lettering of the Today Earth Died. As recorded, and then it's a subtitle, as recorded that day by these men, and the men are the creators of the comic. These are actually just the credits. Lee, Steranko, Synod, Rosen. Yep, that's a Steranko page right there. The next page, what does that look like? It's like a 70s like disco type of design, right? What's the date? Do they have a date on this page? It's 168 in May. I don't know why it's often tough to get the date from comic books. Like you can get the number of the issue, but you can't get the date. They don't make it easy until they collect it into a book. All right, let's see. So we're in the 240s. I just wonder if they have the dates. Yeah, they do. All right, 240. That was June 1968. So it was like the late 60s. And then the next one, which is probably around the same time. See, now they're Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. But that's only the last 4 books. Now it's like some monolith. This looks like... I mean, this page is amazing. First of all, one wall of it looks like Tetris. The other side, it says, "What is a Scorpio?" Which if you move quickly, you won't even realize there's lettering on there. That's kind of like Will Eisner type of way to do the lettering, like built into the scene or the architecture of the page. We've got the sun, we've got I'm not sure if those are birds or planes. We've got waves underneath, but these waves, if you look at them, even if you just count them, like 1, 2, 3, 4, I mean, what does it look like to you? Look at the thickness of them, the proportionality, the spacing. I mean, it looks like a hand. I know that it's a wave. Maybe we're going to turn the page and it is literally a hand, but like, to me, it looks like a hand holding this thing. There's someone scaling it. That tells you something about the angle, because they didn't tip over. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to go back to that page. So, yeah, we've got the Tetris blocks here, which is like, how do you even make that in reality? It's like you can draw that pretty easily, but I'm not sure how you make that in reality. We got the text into the architecture like Will Eisner. Steranko was after Will Eisner. But then we've got the hand drawn into the waves. That's very much, even though he's after Steranko, that's like very much a Frank Miller thing to like take something that's supposed to be a wave or a stone or whatever and just draw like his hand into the comic book page. That's a very Frank Miller thing to do. Because you shade it right and you color it right, and you can make it look like whatever you want it to look like. Did I designate this? Yeah, I did. I designated it as the podcast because at first I was thinking, should I? Because of the comic. And to try to narrate a comic, I feel like you need to do a lot more than what I'm doing. Like, to narrate a football game, there's like rules, keep telling people the downs and the score and the yardage and who has the ball. But to narrate a comic book, a simpler modern comic, you could do the same, who's on what page and that kind of thing. But to narrate this Steranko comic, I mean, I'm going to try it here for this 2-page shot, but it's not going to be easy. So, a guy in the foreground using a scepter pointing at Fury. Then Fury's falling back through a multicolored Kirby crackle with action lines showing him going back. Guy standing over him, the villain standing over him on the ledge. There's water on the ground, close up of the villain. I'm just seeing if you could possibly narrate this page. And it's this page is possible. If I keep going, I'll do it like sort of quicker. Fury getting thrown off the ledge, the guy kicking Fury while he's going down. Fury grabbing onto the guy with his legs. Fury grabbing the ledge with his hands and flipping over his legs to throw the guy off. Then there's a chase, and then Fury is beating the guy up, and then the guy sweeps Fury's legs. I'm basically describing this like a wrestling match. The villain. I was saying the guy, the villain. I don't know the villain's name. Prepare for the final showdown. So that was basically the whole fight. I just described to you. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me see. 4, 6, 8. Yeah. So that was 11 panels on a 2-page spread. That was the final showdown. Let's see if that fight continues. It does. So we got 2 more fight panels. And then some sort of technology shows up, and this guy leaves on a ladder. The villain leaves on a ladder. Some sort of spaceship. It actually looks a little bit like the Enterprise. A little bit. It looks, in some ways, it's different. But the sort of multiple units connected through a structure, like a central lattice or whatever you want to call it, scaffolding structure. In that sense, it kind of looked like Star Trek. All right, Nick Fury, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. We got a new one. Giant robot on the cover. Nick is only up to the robot's knees. The next page he's fighting a skeleton. Next page he's falling off a building into somewhere with rats, and the people at the top of where he's falling from are skeletons. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. When he falls into the water, there's alligators. Pardon me if they're actually crocodiles. I'm not sure. I thought they were alligators, but let's see. Probably they were alligators. Don't worry, though. He got out of that water, and now he's dating some Bond woman. Bond girl. Now he's flying a plane. Now he's in scuba gear. Now he's fighting a bugger. And the bugger is, I would say, got a 20-foot wingspan at least. And he's carrying Nick Fury. I think he's going to drop him into a volcano. The action's moving very quickly. All right, here's some marvelous Yeah, this is a great example of how to build a spaceship just by using concepts. All right, so first we've got like perspective and depth, but that could be anything. That could be like, you could start with like a picture of a barn and use that just to steal the lines for the horse stalls and the floor and the ceiling. But then to create the technology on the ceiling, it's just a bunch of shapes, circles here, triangles here, pyramids here, boxes, rectangles, rectangles with circles, circles with rectangles. It's just a bunch of shapes of all different sizes, and they're just laid out. But when you put them all together like this, and the contrasting colors in the black, it ends up looking like some high technology, even though it's really nothing. You just like lined up the perspective and put a bunch of shapes on there, and it suddenly looked like this amazing like piece of technology. All right, we got some more crackling going on. Crack-a-lacka. What is this guy doing? He's got like a something on his face there. I don't know what's going on with that guy. There's another squid. All right. Here's a nice 2-page spread. Is this like a biodome or something? There's like swamp on the floor. There's Petrosaur flying through the scene. There's an alien wearing clothes in some transparent control booth or some sort. And, but then there's also technology, some sort of metal structure, some sort of asphalt road with humans. Yeah, this is really something. Then the indestructible agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. crashes through a wall lens of the lofty experimental chamber and plunges like a bird without wings into the world of centuries, a world of awakening life where 1,000 deaths wait, surrounded by a coliseum of machinery humming with incredible power built into the very walls of the volcano itself, lying in spellbinding contrast to a world that created to exist 1,000,000 years ago like an island that God forgot. So basically, Jurassic Park is inside of this volcano, and it's administered by... I'm not sure if it's administered by this alien or they're trying to say that the alien is one of the creatures that lives there. There's definitely petrosaurs there. It's like, if that alien is one of the creatures, then why is he wearing clothes? Or do aliens work there? Like in Men in Black, when they go to the back offices of Men in Black and there's a bunch of aliens working there. I don't know. They definitely got dinosaurs in here. Yeah, they got some dinosaurs in there, They got a lady dressed like Wilma from the Flintstones inside of this. Does she live there? Was she born there? Is she a captive? I mean, that's a little bit disturbing. That's another thing. See, that's why you got to be careful with that Comics Gate. Like, I like to, the same way like in politics, I like to talk about issues than parties. When Comics Gate comes up, I like to talk about items rather than sides. Because, like, yeah, you feel like you're part of Comics Gate when they take a comic character that you know and love and completely change his backstory and identity. But then other times, they've taken something that's like in the 1960s that clearly no longer flies, and it shouldn't. Like, that lady was kept captive in that volcano, I'm pretty sure. I don't think she was staying there on purpose. So that's clearly some things. Not everything about our modern era is bad and woke. I mean, some things needed to be corrected, and hopefully they have been. There might be still some more, And I don't mind people for, in an academic setting, trying to figure out, is there something that's wrong? I think what a lot of people don't like is someone who just flies off the handle with a new idea and assumes that the whole world needs to be reworked to match something that they learned in class last week. Like, that's a little bit beyond the point of the exercise. You're supposed to be thinking. Oh, some good shading on this page. The Hellhound of Ravenlock. Are we beyond issues? What, these are kind of, these stories are suddenly getting like, are we, this is like some horror story or something. Dark Moon Rise, Hellhound Kill. Some great two-tone art there. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Evil wins. Okay, this is obviously some very special issue. They've got someone here who looks like Wednesday Addams. They're in like some weird tower castle made of stone. There's like dungeons. There's torture devices. This is not a regular issue. Oh, Nazis. I think there's Nazis on the next page. There's there's a bald guy talking to a guy in a uniform with a logo, and the building behind them has 3 Nazi flags on it. And there's some sort of transportation device that says U-477 on it. There's a that's like I think that's a submarine. So there's water. I think they're inside that weird castle, and some Nazi submarines surfaced. All right, so that's a Nazi castle. By the way, and now the story ends. Oh, I'm pretty sure this is Hitler. I mean, look at the mustache. Look at the. I meant to get the close-up camera for that one. The close-up camera is blurry for some reason. All right, let's just go to the main camera, and I'll read this. I'll just bring it closer to the camera. What? Why am I doing that with an Irish accent? Because he said lass. But ye might as well known the truth now. My Croft lived at Ravenlock years ago. My brother was caretaker then, and he had a baby, but he was sick. His wife hadn't lived through childbirth. We asked Mycroft to care for the child before he died. That child was your Rachel. So this guy, who's not admitting to be Hitler, but I mean, I think he looks like him. So who is this Rachel? R.I.P. Black Hugh Ravenlock. All right, let's just read the next panel, see where the story goes. Then, I and its ear, you'll be staying from now on, ear at Ravenlock where you belong. So this Rachel was delivered to this Ravenlock. Countess Caution. This is a thought bubble. Countess Caution. Ew, what do you say we let him get acquainted? How's about... What is that word? Swapping a couple of ghost tales. Yeah, looks like I can put this trip on the old S.H.I.E.L.D. account after all. I don't know. And then the last panel of the story is a gravestone. And so the curse of Castle Ravenlock came to an end, but not before many lives had fallen 'neath the ancient blood oath. Who was it that said, the evil that men do lives after them? The evil that men do lives after them. Perhaps he was right after all. Well, let you be the judge. I don't know. I mean, there was a Nazi submarine inside the castle, and on the very next page, there's someone who, I mean, am I crazy? This guy looks like Hitler. And then, whoever Nick, some Rachel that he delivered there, this guy was claiming should be living at this Raven Lock. I don't know. You know what? This story got crazy. Are these now being written by Steranko? Whatever happened to Scorpio? Wow. And look at this cover. This is crazy. So Scorpio, I guess, is the villain. Yeah, he's got a scorpion logo. There's some like crazy mask with the 1960s colors, some spiral. Yeah, this is beyond. So we're no longer part of Strange Tales, and Nick Fury is off in La La Land. This is too crazy. Every page is multicolored, multi-textured. This page is clearly just a photograph in black and white. There's no art on this page. There might be a couple little embellishes, but it's basically a photograph. All right, here's one normal page. If you consider his silver car turning its wheels sideways and becoming an aircraft, as long as you consider, or as long as you're fine with that, then it's a normal page. Okay. We got some more Andy Warhol art here. Yeah. Yep. This is beyond. I know that in the beginning we were this is probably why this is the last issue. They were like, Steranko's gone off the deep end. I know we were complimenting the abstractions in the beginning, and that's often how it works. Like, the guy knows the rules, but he wants to break the rules. And when he's doing it in the beginning, and he's doing it for a reason, and it's good and it works, but then you trust this guy to break the rules, and then he breaks all the fucking rules and just does this insanity. And now it's like people can no longer follow the story, and it's like, okay, time to end Steranko's run on S.H.I.E.L.D. Nobody could follow this anymore. I mean, it's okay if you sometimes can't follow it, but even visually, it's like, what the hell is going on? Okay, that's it. The book is over. Now it's just some alternate covers and some galleries and some pages they didn't actually ever make it to print, and some pages before they got colored or inked. Some alternate covers. Maybe some covers that Nick did after he was no longer writing S.H.I.E.L.D. because, sorry, not that Nick did. Nick Fury is the character that Jim Steranko did. So basically, he did some covers. So like, cover from 1973, Strange Tales, S.H.I.E.L.D. 5. So his work was getting insane, crazy. And that's still fine for covers. Like, so someone else took over the day-to-day, but he still does the covers, which is totally fine because you don't necessarily want to understand everything from the cover. You want the cover to be intriguing so that someone picks up the book and reads it. But then now the reading it, that's now going to fall to someone who's actually going to draw a story, not just make hugely insane covers that people have to buy. By the way, here's a wraparound one. So this cover is wraparound. There's the front cover and it wraps around to the back. That's just a cool little thing there. Nick Fury versus S.H.I.E.L.D. Who do you think that Nick Fury is? Do you think that's a self-portrait of Jim Steranko? It's some very detailed work. And then we're done. That's it. The book is over. Hope you enjoyed taking a look at Marvel's S.H.I.E.L.D. by Steranko, the complete collection. I'll probably do something else tomorrow. I'm not sure what. Maybe a building project. Basically done with this S.H.I.E.L.D. See you tomorrow.